Okay, so welcome back folks. My name's Antony Valentine, the Camper Nerd. Today I'd like to talk about camper van and motorhome. In fact, this goes for most things, leisure vehicle prices. This is a long convoluted story that has gone on for, well, we're now 3 years into the COVID story. In fact, the story is that long and the list of reasons why we've had an upswing in the market prices. I've even had to make a list here. Normally I'd be just, and scroll through here, the list. Normally I'd be just reading without a script of 30 years of experience, but on this occasion. So first of all, I'd like with a disclaimer. I am not an economist. I've got no qualifications in financial advice as such. However, I have been in the industry for over 30 years, buying and selling vehicles at the current market forces, so I feel I'm qualified for an opinion. So this is just my opinion. Feel free to comment below. I'll listen to your opinions and I'm sure this will spark up a debate, but this is just my opinion. So yeah, especially I've observed so much rubbish and comments over the last 3 years on social media, Facebook particularly, us greedy dealers charging COVID tax, jumping on the bandwagon, taking advantage. It is very simple. It is just market forces, supply and demand. Now there is a lot of reasons behind the supply and demand, which I will try and list as many as I can. So yes, as I say, people, the so-called Facebook experts have been saying for many years, oh, we're going to wait till all the prices fall off a cliff, lockdown is ended, prices will crash and we'll buy in at the new rate. Oh, how so wrong they were. If that was these people would still be waiting. In fact, this is the way I would like to explain it. It's not as if we've had an upswing, it's just that vehicles are holding their value. In fact, the easiest example is one of my favourites, if the camera can come and span over. So the Clubman. So this is one of my favourites, an auto sleeper Clubman. In fact, I've got one in stock, so why don't I show you outside? I'll show you it and we'll have a quick talk about it. Okay. So yes, as I was saying, here's one of my favourites, as I'm well known for auto sleepers. Here's an auto sleeper Topaz just arrived, auto sleeper Clubman, there's an auto sleeper Talisman. But this particular one is the easiest way to explain the prices. So this is 20 years old, made by Auto Sleeper. They've put the body on a T4 chassis. So this particular model is selling at the current market price, the same price as it was 10 years ago when it was only 10 years old. So in other words, it's held its value price for 10 years. So I was selling these for the same price 10 years ago when they were only 10 years old. I am now supplying them when they're 20 years old for the same price. But I can't magically find them at the prices that I was paying 10 years ago. It is simple supply and demand. If I could, I would be a multi-millionaire. Sorry to report for my self, that's not the case. I'm having to pay more money. I'm having to pay more money to repair them and build them. This particular one is also a good point in question because this body, the famous monocoque auto sleeper one-piece body, could not be fitted. They tried and they could not fit it on a T5. So the finished VW T4s in 2002. Actually, last year I was lucky to supply the very last that rolled out of the Auto Sleeper factory. Would you believe, a 2006? So it was a 2006 Auto Sleeper T4. So it was 4 years after the roll of production. What Auto Sleeper did was stockpiled a few T4s and they were able to fit the body on them, but they couldn't get it to fit on the T5. But I digress. So that's the easiest way I can explain. It's not necessarily prices have gone up, but prices have held steady. So that is just one of the reasons. I'll carry on now and go on the full list of other reasons. Okay, let's carry on back inside to the office. Okay, so back to my big long scrolling list of the reasons of the current situation. Yeah, it's basic economics really. It's the same as house prices. What is a house price worth? What is a house worth? If you went back in time many decades, people, if they looked at the future market now, they would be laughing and flabbergasted. What is a house worth? It is worth exactly what you can get for it, and someone is willing to pay for it. It is exactly the same with camper vans. Now, why is someone willing to pay 10 years later the same price as they could have bought it 10 years? Well, I'm going to list many reasons. So, one of the reasons is the new models have gone up in price. So, since COVID, you couldn't get a new vehicle. So the converters, so that'd be Auto Sleepers, Auto Cruise, one of my favourites is Auto Trail. I do like the 3 autos. Motorhomes have struggled with new models. So the reason being, their prices have gone up. They've had an upswing in demand. Not only have they had an upswing in demand, there's a waiting list that's growing to get a new one. So it's had a market force reaction all the way down to the older vehicles. The new converters, they're making the bodies, they're making the motorhome part, but they're struggling to buy the chassis. So they've got to buy a vehicle, whether it be a Ford or a VW, etc., or a Peugeot. They're struggling to buy the vehicle because of the upswing in demand for new vehicles. Also the chip shortage. Obviously the newer vehicles are so well designed. They're designed with a lot of technology and demand for chips, and they're struggling. So you can't now walk into a new motorhome shop, as it were, a dealer, and get a new motorhome. You're lucky if you can pay a deposit and go on a waiting list. So that's had a knock-on effect all the way down. What else have we got in this long reasons? So the new reasons, and the obviously the new people who are converting them, as well as people who are converting second-hand vehicles, the demand is sky high. So workshop time, you can't get any workshop time these days. Even I struggle, and I know many dealers, I'm constantly pulling in favours. But because of what's happened after COVID, and there's a lack of supply of new vehicles, people are holding on to vehicles longer because of the chip shortage. Hence, all workshops are fully booked. So workshop time is at a premium. Lots of reasons. What else have we got? So yes, the parts is a delay. So since the lockdown, Europe, mainland Europe particularly, went a little bit overboard, and their factories went into lockdown further, and a lot of the leisure parts are supplied from Europe. And dare I mention the B word, the Brexit word. So that on top of COVID, on top of the demand, is we've got a slowness in the supply chain of parts. So this is parts for second-hand vehicles to repair, and dealers are struggling. For once, I hear I'm in a group of hundreds of motorhome dealers in the United Kingdom, and they're all saying the same tune. Obviously, they can buy vehicles, but having to pay a premium. They can sell vehicles with the demand, but getting them ready, getting them through workshop time, I'm exactly the same. Normally, if someone pays me a deposit, I could normally process and get a vehicle MOT'd, habitation service, everything ready within a week. That's gone out the window. Since COVID, it's taken a 2 or 3 week process at best. Inflation. So this is what happens when governments meddle and Putin meddle in basic economics, and a free market that has been running for years, and it's predictable. Those days have gone. We're running inflation. I would guess my best estimate is, well, we all know this with parts, going out to a restaurant, your house prices have inflated, your utilities, gas and electric, everything's gone up, your fuel, petrol, diesel. A conservative estimate, I would say, is everything has gone up 25%. Now, the knock-on effect of that is, so if you had £20,000 3 years ago, pre-COVID, you could buy a vehicle, I'm using this as an example, for £20,000. We are at a stage now, 3 years later, whereas £20,000 is not worth £20,000. I think it's devalued. So £20,000 is only worth 75%. So it will only buy you £15,000 worth. So this is just another reason of the market forces. So, as I say, I will make another video soon, and I'll be discussing the difference between buying private and buying trade. Basically, if you buy private, now and again you can get lucky, but you have to be very careful because you've got no warranty, and in the United Kingdom the law states buyer beware, and that is it. However, if you're buying trade, so us dealers, the reputable dealers supply a warranty, we have to get all the parts ready, and this is a long process, but your investment is safe. Yes, so I think that's all I can say really. There's obviously lots of little facets to the story. It's not just one thing. The prices have gone up, the demand's gone up, we have to pay more to buy the vehicles, the parts are harder to get, the workshop time is harder to obtain. So all of these reasons, delay in parts, shortage of computer chips, Brexit, all of these reasons have created a vortex and a market condition that we've not been used to. But trust me folks, you can watch this video now, you can watch this video in 3 years, the prices are not going off a cliff. That is not going to happen. Okay, I'll catch you on the next video and I'll give you some advice. I'll go into further detail on buying private versus buying off a dealer. Catch you on the next video folks.